The other day I saw a video by Vitruvian Physique titled the exact same title as the video you're watching now. Now, I thought it was an excellent video, very well done, well produced. He is absolutely on point with his content. However, I feel like he didn't go into the specifics in how to select your optimal body fat percentage or your optimal body fat percentage range. So, as sort of a continuation from his video, I want to address that problem. How to select an actual body fat percentage range for you. This video brought to you by Casein Protein Powder. Go buy some. You can go to casein.com and use code Geoff10 to get a 10% discount. Actually check, it's apparently a real website. Go figure. Has 114 page views in the past month. Let's crash their servers. Anyway, product placement aside, how you look, how you feel, and how you perform. That is going to be the trifecta, not product placement, actually like 3 things that determine your optimal body fat percentage. So first, how you look. This really is up to you. Some people prefer to maintain a lean physique year round. And if they go up a little bit in body fat percentage, they get uncomfortable, they get self-conscious, they think they are fat, even if they are only 14 or 15% body fat. Other people feel fine at a higher body fat percentage in terms of how they look. It also depends if it's the summer or not. If you're going to be shirtless a lot of the time, perhaps maintaining a leaner physique makes more sense. If it's the winter and you're going to be wearing clothes, perhaps more of a bare mode type of physique makes more sense. 2, how you perform. Now, this really is up to what your sport is or what you like to do in the gym or elsewhere. If you are a sumo wrestler, you might want to maintain a slightly higher body fat percentage because that is actually going to help your sport.
My name is Yama.
I totally shit in my pants.
I pretty much I have sort of a natural athletic ability.
Get wrecked. You should have bulked, bro. I've worked with athletes who were 20 to 25% body fat, and because of their goals, we actually bulked. That's not standard, that's not typical, but they were American football players and they wanted to put on weight to get better at their sport. Similarly, if you are a sprinter or a jumper for track and field, you're probably going to want to be close to 10%. Added fat is just more weight that you have to move, and it doesn't really help you perform all that much. So it really does depend on your sport and your goals in terms of performance. For typical people, I would say somewhere around 15% is going to be ideal. If you just go to the gym, you have some strength goals, some aesthetic goals, I think 15% is very reasonable. Finally, how you feel. Now, this is going to be quite individual. Some people are naturally leaner and they feel fine at lower body fat percentages. So there are legit some people, they feel fine at 10% body fat. For some people, there's just no way that they can sustain that. Other people, they're genetically a little bit bigger boned. They're an endomorph, right?
My name is Yama.
Perhaps they're getting down with the thickness, that kind of thing. And they might feel better at 20% body fat. That might be a completely viable strategy or body fat percentage for them. In general, though, you're going to want to find a window that everything is optimized and you have the highest quality of life. If you put a lot of weight, no pun intended, on how you look, perhaps you might want to maintain a leaner physique. If how you feel is more important, perhaps you want to gain a little bit of weight, gain a little bit of fat, as it might increase your quality of life. Same thing with performance. Assess what is the correct body fat percentage for you. If you go too low or too high, there are negative consequences to both. In the modern extreme world, we either want to get absolutely diced, peeled, shredded, and breaded, or we want to just not care about fitness and go up to 35, 40, 45, 50% body fat.
Yama.
No one seems to talk about that moderate range. Moderation is a very, very good strategy when it comes to body fat percentage. Also, again, you're going to want to give yourself a range. Don't just try to maintain 14% body fat because that is what you have found to be optimal. Let yourself go up to 15 or 16%, perhaps in the winter, around the holidays, and maybe get a little bit leaner in the summer. Give yourself perhaps 2 to 3% either way to give yourself the flexibility to live, to not have to worry about maintaining one body fat percentage. That doesn't really make any sense. So it's going to be a bell curve where quality of life is on the y-axis and then your body fat percentage is on the x-axis. So for me, the midpoint where I feel best, at least for the moment, is around 15%. This is where I have no negative effects of either too high or too low. It is literally that Goldilocks zone. So I give myself a 3% range either way. So from 12% to 18%, I feel absolutely fantastic. I don't have to worry about things, and I just overall feel really, really good. If I go down to 9%, I'll start noticing symptoms and signs of having too low of a body fat percentage. When I go down to 9% or so, my appetite will go up significantly. I'll eat more when I want to eat. Just the food will keep going down, and I will also be hungry at random times throughout the day. I'll wake up and I'll be hungry. That's the first thing that comes to mind. I'll be more food focused. At 18 to 15%, somewhere in there, I won't really have to think about food. I'll just eat normally, naturally, and it won't be a focus point. Also at 9%, I'll notice that I'll get sick a little bit more often. And when I do get sick, it'll last a little bit longer. I'll have like this sniffly nose that lasts, a week or two. It's not very often, it's not a huge pain in the ass, but it is noticeable. We'll also have random points of low energy. If I don't eat on a more frequent basis, I will feel like my sleep is impacted as well. I'll wake up during the night, which never ever happens at 15 to 18% body fat. Back when I was a runner and I was maintaining a very, very lean physique and doing a ton of activity, I was overtrained. And I don't throw that word around like a freaking frisbee. I was overtrained. And my sleep was impacted for months and months, maybe even a year or more after I went down to that very low body fat percentage. One vein went from my hand up my forearm, up my bicep, through my shoulder, down my chest, through my abs, down into my hips, down my quads, like a frickin' pipeline, all the way down to my foot. That's how lean I was. And it was just too much. Plus, hormonally, it's not great either. Testosterone tends to tank, cortisol goes up. Just in general, you're running on fumes because you just can't eat as much food. And honestly, it sucks because you can't go out to restaurants. People are like, oh, come meet me. And no, you have to get in some steps to maintain this ridiculous body that you've worked for and you need to keep working for to maintain. At 15 to 18%, none of that. Literally none of that. And as you get leaner, it gets progressively harder. So on this chart, going from 18 to 15%, pretty easy. 15 to 12%, a little bit harder, but still not really a struggle, at least for me. 12 to 9% is where it gets quite a bit more difficult. And then every percentage point that you go below 9%, it gets progressively more difficult. And you get to the point where if you lose a kilo of fat, your body notices. It says, whoa, we need that for energy. We need that for survival. And when you get down to like 7 or 6%, which I've actually haven't been at least, after lifting weights, perhaps as a runner I was, you start to really get on that knife's edge to where your body is, very, very attentive and trying to push you up to a higher body fat percentage. Your set point is higher because your body thinks you are dying. You look great, you feel like shit. On the other hand, if I go above 18%, I'll start to notice a myriad of maleficent maladies. I'll get sluggish, I'll get tired. If I want to go for a run, I'm going to be slower, a lot slower, and I'll start to notice an impact on my joints.
So what you gonna do?
And when you start going above 20% body fat, especially above 30% body fat for a man, women can add like 8 to 10% body fat to most of these numbers, should be fairly accurate. You'll start to notice it's not just an aesthetic downside.
What you talking about? I'm sexy as fuck.
You'll have other issues as well, perhaps metabolic issues, heart disease, diabetes, all of these other issues that are very much associated with a higher body fat percentage, higher body weight, and especially higher visceral fat amounts. There might be this healthy at any body weight movement, and perhaps there are a few outliers who are metabolically healthy at that higher body fat percentage. But again, those are outliers. For most people, statistically speaking, you are at very much more risk than a leaner person. And I think for most of those people, they should absolutely make it a priority to attack that issue head on, all out, immediately, because that is going to be the best way to improve the quality of your life. Now, it's going to be very individual, and I'll put a few charts on the screen. The first one is going to be Geoff Cavalier's optimal body fat percentage. Now, this isn't trolling or hating at all. It's just that leanness is his thing. So if he went up to like 12% body fat, his quality of life might be worse. He might feel better. In fact, I would say almost certainly he would feel better. But he would get so much hate online, and people would be like, you hear Geoff Cavalier? He got fat as fuck. Now he's 12% body fat. And in reality, 12% is way leaner than the average person. The average American man is about 30% body fat. And even the 99th percentile, as you can see on this chart, is around 14%. So at 12%, he's probably like 99.5 percentile or something like that. But compared to people's expectations, that would still be pretty chubby for him. So for him, his optimal body fat percentage, because he's on social media, etc., is probably somewhere between 7 and 9% body fat, which he maintains year round. However, he has to sacrifice a lot for that, and I don't think he really often talks about the negative effects of having to sacrifice and what he has to do and what he has to feel like to maintain that low of a body fat percentage. And this isn't just Geoff Cavalier. Most of these social media stars, especially on Instagram, who are basically shredded year-round, they usually don't talk about the negatives. But I can guarantee you that they are there. They might have great genetics for leanness. They might be taking certain supplements that assist them in maintaining that lean physique, perhaps stimulants, perhaps steroids, whatever. But even so, they probably don't feel great at that body fat percentage. And they do it because it is good for business. Next up, you have a hypothetical person called Sergeant Thickness. And for them, maybe they've always been a bit huskier, a bit on the thicker side of things, etc., walking on the wider side of life. And, perhaps they want to maintain 18 to 24%. When they go down to 15%, they feel like they have low energy, they're trashed all the time, they just don't feel good, and they get those symptoms of having too low of a body fat percentage. There's nothing wrong with maintaining high teens to low 20s. Again, the average is 30%. The median is 30%. So I don't think there's that much wrong with 18 to 24%, especially if your blood work is fine and you feel good. The trouble is when people justify not being 18 to 24%, but being like 38 to 44% body fat. That's when you should be able to go lower. Get a blood test, see a professional, get a coach to help you with your weight loss, but don't just like feel bad during a diet, get down to 38% body fat and be like, oh, well, it's my thyroid, oh God, and then, go back up in body fat percentage. No, give it an honest effort. Almost every man can get below 25% body fat. And it might take some experimentation, finding that optimal percentage for you. For me, I've found it already. 12, 18% feel completely good. If I go below that, it might just to be like to take pictures or perhaps for social media. But in terms of except for that, 12 to 18%. That is my range. Your range might be shifted up or down depending. All right, that's all for this video. I hope it helped. Make sure to like the video. It does help the algorithm. Subscribe to the channel if you are not already for some very strange reason. And I will see you in the next video. Peace.